We have the Blackwing deck that got second place at its regional. We have some Rikka, Son Avalon, and is that a stun deck out here? Yes, it is. Hey, 34% of you that have not smashed the 11 crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so we can climb up that 111,000 ladder. So the first we have here is a Blackwing list straight out of a regional top finish, which actually, I don't really have a lot to say about this. I think that the Small World engine, kind of cute and a little bit gimmicky. I do understand, you know, your purpose for playing this. And then having access to some sort of buy steel package for you to get the chance to do your thing is really good. And also, this deck actually was playing Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and I can tell you from experience, a lot of people in this format aren't going to have outs for this card. So if you can establish this a lot of games, you'll be pretty good. So we have one copy of the Snowblast with one Gale the Whirlwind. We have one Harmattan the Dust with one Orochi the Squall. Triple copies of Shamal the Sandstorm with triple copies of Simone the Poison Wind. And we have one Steam the Cloak. Glad to see this is still back. We have triple copies of Sudori the Phantom Glimmer. We have triple copies of Vata, one copy of Zephyros, with one Druis Worm, and two copies of Magna Hut. Then, of course, we have two Dimension Shifters, one copy of Raider's Wing, and we're actually playing one copy of Vishuda, so this actually gives you an additional body on the field, so you can actually synchro out with this. Actually kind of interesting to see. We have two copies of the Black Feather Whirlwind, we have triple copies of Black Whirlwind, two copies of Pot of Prosperity for filtering, triple copies of Small Wind, we have one Rank Up Magic launch, one copy of Twin Shadow, and triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. Down the extract, we got one Rusty Tin Can with one White Strix, one Arsenal Falcon with one Kali King Nuka, one Mud with one Draco Berserker. We have one Borreload Savage, one Obsidian Hawkjoe with one Full Armor Master, one Nathong, one copy of the Boris from the Wicked Wind, one Blackwinged Dragon, one Assault Dragon with one Raikiri, and one Dragoon. And then, of course, you have one more copy of Shifter, triple Gamma with a Driver, triple Dark Roller, one Prod of Prosperity, triple Talents, and triple Evenly Matched here, wrapping up your Blackwing special. Next up here is some Son Avalon Rikka good stuff. And to be honest with you, this deck has been on a massive decline for a little while. It is nice to see that people are returning back to this, though, and getting the chance to play this. Also, we've got some love out here for the Cactus Bouncer. Let me tell you, this card is actually pretty cute in what it does. I think a lot of people kind of underestimate this card, but yeah, so what if it takes up a normal summon to get this on the field? Like, it's a literal floodgate that punishes your opponent. So we have one copy of Jasmine with two copies of Laurel, one copy of the Cactus Bouncer with one Lone Fire Blossom. We have one Mardell with two copies of Mudan. We have two copies of Primula with one copy of Petal, triple copies of Rikka Princess with one Snowdrop, one Spore with one Sunsea Twin. We have triple copies of the Genius Loki, one Called by the Grave with triple copies of Crossout Designator, triple copies of Hadoken with one Harpy's Feather Duster. We have one for one. We also have triple copies of Rikka Glamour, triple copies of Con, two copies of the Sunvine Sowing, one Twin Twisters, triple copies of Unexpected Die, two Imperm, and one copy of Rikka Sheet. Down here in the extra deck, you have one little Dance Peone with one copy of Thrasher. We have two copies of the Healer with one Melias, two copies of Dryas with one Begalancer, two copies of Jasmine with one Teardrop, and then we have one Hyperton, and actual triple copies of Storana. Holy moly. We have triple copies of Lancia, two Spooky Dogwood, two Space Rocks, two Lightning Storms with two Silent Graveyards, two Dimensional Barrier, and two copies of Evenly Matched here, wrapping up a very interesting take for Rikka. A lot more tacked out than some of the other versions of this deck that I've really seen. Next up here is some Danger Dark World. Now, in my honest opinion, a lot of these builds do kind of blend together and look the same, but I will still encourage this deck as the locals buster experience. You can pick this up, you could take this to locals, and you can do well with it, all right? It's not like, this deck's weakness is longer round tournaments, and I mean, you can probably get your invite with this, which is very good at the end of the day. So you take the power that you get with this. So I'll see we're playing one copy of the Doomdog Orthros, sent from the field to the graveyard. Add a level 8 Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. Oh boy, this searches for the good stuff. level 8 Fiend monster, you say. We have triple copies of Brow, 1 copy of Cerulli. I see a lot of these builds that do want to play like 2 Cerulli, so only seeing 1 is kind of interesting. We have 2 Bigfoot with 1 Chupacabra, triple copies of Mothman, triple copies of Nessie. You got the 1 Thunderbird with 1 Jackalope with 1 Tsuchinoko. We have 1 Little Doomdog, triple copies of Genta with 2 copies of Grapha. We have 2 copies of Skittles with 1 copy of Silva. And we have triple copies of Snow, triple copies of Grapha, 1 copy of the Zelamander. And you got 2 Allure of Darkness, 2 Dark World Ascension, 1 Archives, triple Gates, and only 1 Talents here. Down the extract, got 1 Security Dragon with 1 Saruja. We have 1 News Reporter with 1 Master King Archfiend. Alright, we have 1 Nightmare Phoenix with 1 Dahark. We have 1 Blackluster Soldier, 1 Apollosa with 1 Akashic. We have 1 Dugaras with 1 copy of Baguski, 1 Giant Trainer with 1 Abyss Dweller, and 2 copies of Grapha, Dragon Overlord. We have triple copies of Lava Golem, 2 Big Balls, 1 Darklaw with triple copies of Cyclone. We have 1 Puppetry with 1 Feather Duster, 2 Mass Change 2, 1 Deck Devi, and 1 EV here, wrapping up your Dark World experience. And then we also have a stun list here. Now, you're going to notice we're playing Armory Call here, which gives us immediate access to Power of the Guardians here. And then we are citing Big Burn down here. You can only activate this card when your opponent activates a card that targets a monster in the graveyard. Remove from play all monsters in both players' graveyards. Huh. Yeah, this is a very interesting little tech choice here. And I will say that this is going to get you some free chicken nuggies here. So we have 2 copies of Banisher of the Radiance with triple copies of Fossil Dino. We have triple copies of Guiding Ariadne with triple copies of Inspector Border. And we also have triple copies of Thunder King Ryo. Then we have 1 Cardamize, 2 copies of Moon Mirror Shield, triple copies of Pot of Duality. We have triple copies of Pot of Extravagance with 1 copy of the Power of the Guardians. We have 1 Armory Call. We have 2 copies of Dogmatica Punishment with 1 Macro. We have 1 Phantom Knight Sword with 1 Wings. We also have triple Psalm Judgment, triple Psalm Steerike, triple Psalm Warning, and triple copies of There Can Only Be One here. Down the extra deck, we have 1 Zeroboros with 1 Unicorn with 1 B-Cup. We have 2 Ultimate Falcons with 1 Utopia the Lightning. We have 1 Baguski with 1 Utopia. We also have 1 Wind Pegasus, 2 copies of The Last Warrior, 1 Starving Venom, 1 Exterio, and 2 copies of Anintis here. Side deck here we have triple Dimension Shifter, 1 Arby's Feather Duster, 2 copies of Big Burn, triple copies of Evenly Matched, 2 copies of Infinite Permanence, 2 Storming Mirror Force, and 2 copies of Waking the Dragon here. Wrapping up Stun. Now, like I said, this is a little bit different than some of the more conventional lists that we have. I mean, obviously pulling out Moon Mirror Shield here or Power of the Guardians for access off of Armory Call here is kind of some free BS advantage that you just get to slap your opponent around with. It's kind of cute. And the last we have here is some Bysteel Dragon Link. I always like kind of sticking these lists at the end of these types of videos, even though people do like these kind of things. This deck has become a lot more copy and paste as late, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that like your wiggle room to develop this deck isn't quite as good as it once was. So that's a lot to kind of like take in here, but it's honestly what we're looking at here. So we have 1 Absol Dragon with 1 Collapse Serpent. We have 2 copies of Drosworm with triple copies of Magna Hut. We have 2 copies of Saronir with 1 Lavioneer. We have 1 Chaos Emperor, the Pendulum of Armageddon. We have triple copies of Effect Veiler. We have 1 Metal Rocket with 1 Noctovision. 1 Rocket Recharger with 2 Rocket 1 Starleech, 2 Starleech, 3 Starleech. Then we have 2 Libellion, 1 Wyvern Buster. And then we have 1 Boot Sector with your 1 Brand Regained, triple Chaos Base with 1 Dragon Ravine, triple Quick Launch with 2 Talents, 1 Branded Beast, and triple copies of Infinite Permanence. And then you got 1 Triple Burst, 1 Striker Dragon with 1 Quad Boral, 1 Nightmare Unicorn with 1 IP. We have 1 Heavenly Spheres with 1 Pisty, 1 Rom, 1 Deligerous, 1 Dahark, 1 Borrowland, 1 Access Code, the 1 Scarlight, your 1 Borrowload, and your 1 Baron DeFleur. And they got 1 Drosworm, 1 Saronir, triple Spooky Dogwood, triple Gamma with a Driver, triple Lightning Storm, and triple copies of Reverie of the Warlords here, wrapping up another chunk of some interesting goodies for you here. So what do you think about the particulars of these decks? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.